Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. And today we're talking Kanye West in terms of SAINt JHN's interview with Complex with Eric Skelton. Eric Skelton is someone that I like a lot at Complex, so I enjoyed this interview, and I started reading it before I even realized it was Eric that wrote it. So I was going through and I was just like, this is a really good interview. You know, sometimes Complex really hits the mark, other times they don't, but this is one of the times where they do. And then went up and I was like, oh, of course, it's Eric. So if you ever see Eric's name on something, it's usually of a higher quality. But SAINt JHN, as you may or may not know, has been with Kanye a couple times in 2020. He was out in Wyoming, and then we saw photos of him in Jamaica with Kanye. And we may have seen a photo with him, I think, in Atlanta with Kanye. So 3 times, and there was rumors he was going to be on Donda. We definitely know that he's going to be on SAINt JHN's album that comes out in just a few days, right? And Kanye has a song on there. And of course, like with 2 Chainz, it's funny that Kanye talks or said something to SAINt JHN about like, let me executive produce. And SAINt JHN is just like, whoa, 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 buddy, whoa. There's a lot of good Kanye information in here. So we're going to dive right in. As you can see, if you find or search for Kanye in this article, it comes up 20 times. So a little bit of an intro with Eric meeting SAINt JHN back in South by Southwest 2017. And this is before SAINt JHN really blew up. And this last year, he's enjoyed a lot of success from the fact that his song Roses from 2016 got remixed by this young DJ in Kazakhstan. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And it's become like a huge social media hit. And now SAINt JHN's enjoying all this success from that. And then with this album, When the World Was Burning, or While the World Was Burning, he ended up working with a number of people. You can see here that it includes Kanye West, Lil Uzi Vert, Future, DaBaby, Kalani, Black, and JID, Jid. Oh God. I'm revealing the fact that I don't know anything about Jid and a Boogie with a Hoodie. And so this album, I think, is going to be one of the more highly anticipated ones for maybe some of the smaller artists, right? It might not have the acclaim of the Uzi and Future album, maybe not even like the Ty Dolla $ign album, but it's up there in terms of like West Side Gun's album, right? And how excited people were for that. I think just with looking at this track list and who might be involved, and some people are going to discover SAINt JHN for the first time with this album. And you can see they talk a little bit just about where SAINt JHN's at, and he really does have a lot of Kanye energy in some of his answers. There's a lot of thoughtfulness and philosophy that goes into what he's saying. And you can see that the first time here that he mentions Kanye is that he just kind of fell into this album. It was something that kind of came out during the pandemic. It came about because of COVID, right? And just not being able to tour, and he starts making music. And Kanye actually reached out to him to do a record, and he was just getting these people to respond, and suddenly this project came together. So right here, Eric asked about Kanye for the first time on Quarantine Wifey, which is funny because we just saw with 2 Chainz, he had Quarantine Thick. So we're seeing the start of art and quarantine, art and COVID season. But Quarantine Wifey rap, bitch, I'm trying to be the next Kanye. What about Kanye do you take inspiration from? And John says, Ye dreams without borders. He dreams without limitation. I come from the same lineage. I come from the same school of thought. I want to put a motorcycle in my living room. I want to have a Saint Laurent wall in the living room. I want an entire art gallery of While the World Was Burning, art prints as my backdrop. I want a skull rug from the Not Occult collection in the corner of my Saint Laurent skateboard. By my Saint Laurent skateboard that I've never used because I can't skateboard, right next to my Goyard cigar case. Yeah. Those are some things that I have no reference for, you know? To be that, you have to think in a more boundless, limitless way. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from East New York. I'm from a place where I didn't even think that this was necessarily possible. I didn't even know I could be this colorful. I didn't know I could be this emotional in music. I didn't know I could be this expressive in clothing. And he's one of the key architects of boundless self-expression in this era. And this gets at something I've talked about before on the channel, but when I interviewed the world famous Tony Williams, you know, he of the College Dropouts and Nazir, and a few other Kanye projects, right? Sunday Service, Kanye's cousin. uh, when we were talking, he made a big point about the fact that when he was growing up in Oklahoma, he didn't see people having futures like the one he envisioned. And when you don't see it, it's hard to believe you can achieve it. If nobody around you has ever walked the path that you're wanting to walk, it just feels like there's a dead end and you're not going to get out. That the most you can hope to obtain is what you see the people around you have obtained. But that when you start to have these role models and these idols and look to them, they may not be the people right in front of you, but they at least give you an inspiration of like, no, that person came from a small town and made it big. I can go and do that too. And how important it is to have reference points, whether it is somebody in your life or whether it is somebody that you're kind of anchoring onto that's just a larger star. And this is something here that St. John's getting at too, that growing up in Brooklyn, even though Brooklyn has produced other artists, right, from St. John's point of view and what he knew, it didn't feel like that was possible for him. But seeing Kanye be what Kanye is, right, and where Kanye came from and how much Kanye has achieved, continues to achieve, he just is one of these key architects of boundless self-expression and helps somebody like St. John discover the fact that he didn't realize he could dress how he dresses and have this expressiveness, that he didn't realize he could be this emotional on music. And these are all things that I think within all of us, there's this power that we don't really realize that we have, that we can rise up to opportunities and occasions when we give ourselves permission to do so and just explore it and let it pour out of us and rise up to the occasion. So, you know, don't let yourself be limited. You're a Kanye fan, so especially don't let yourself be limited. You have a collaboration with Kanye on this album called Pray For Me. How did that happen? So Kanye called me. I'd never talked to him before. Imagine that. We never met before. He got my number from somebody. I mean, when Kanye wants your number, he's going to get it. He texted me first, actually. He said, "This is Ye. I just listened to your record 20 times in a row on a jet." Which you can just imagine Kanye doing, right? It feels like when he gets onto something, he kind of like one-tracks it for a little bit and kind of digests it, picks it apart, obsesses over it, and then moves on. Like we've heard stories about how he'll rewatch movies over and over again or have the same movie playing in the studio. So I can imagine Kanye just liking it, but also trying to figure out like, what makes this different? Why do I like this? What's he doing that's like interesting? And 20 times in a row on a jet. And I said, who? Because people be playing with your phone. But look, I knew it was Ye. I ain't going to lie to you. I just need to verify. I was like, there's no other way. I'm at this place in my life. It's got to be him, right? Like St. John's confident enough to just be like, yeah, I'm at the place where Kanye should be reaching out to me. Which, again, that's the attitude we should all have. Like, I'm waiting for a text from Kanye. I'm like, I've been doing all this Kanye work. I'm waiting for the day that Kanye texts me and is like, yo, it's Ye. Let me check my phone real fast. No, did not text me yet. But, and then he wrote back, Kanye, man. Could you imagine, like, you're Kanye and you're like, yo, it's Ye, and he's like, who? And he's just like, Kanye. Like, Kanye, man. Can I FaceTime you? We know Kanye loves FaceTime. So we jumped on the phone and he told me, I just finished listening to your record 20 times in a row on a jet. So just repeating the same info. He had never heard of me. He didn't know I was managed by Biggs. Biggs, you may remember, was part of the Hydra that was Rockefeller, right? It was Jay-Z, Dame Dash, and Biggs. So Biggs was retired for a little while, and he came back into the game just a few years ago, and part of that was signing St. John. So St. John's kind of been a Biggs project, but Kanye recently just shouted out Biggs too on, whatchamacallit, what was that? The 2 Chainz song, Feel Away. He shouted out Dame Dash and Biggs. So it seems like even through St. John, Kanye was probably reunited in some way with Biggs. And that's some speculation on my part, but he didn't know me. He just heard a song, and being the type of artist that he is, he asked about it and said, yeah, I want to put a verse on it. That was the first call, and he was talking about Roses. So Roses is the song that we talked about up front that came out in 2016 and wasn't really getting a lot of traction. And it's a little like darker, has some ambience. I'm going to sound maybe a little dumb when I compare it just like a little bit to Designer, but like a more eloquent Designer kind of flow. Like just more tamed and controlled designer flow in some of the verse. That's what it reminded me of, but with a better aesthetic kind of around it, and you kind of sink into this world that he's created. And the remix is much more like up tempo and fast paced and almost chipmunks what SAINt JHN's doing. But both are pretty interesting. I can understand the more baroque or gothic soundscape that Roses has and why Kanye would be interested in jumping on it. It feels like it would be something like a Closed on Sunday, like a Follow God kind of beats. Not quite like as epic as Sella, right? But something that just has that little more of that darker aspect that Kanye can be drawn to. So from there, we started developing a relationship. He asked me to come to Wyoming, and I said I couldn't. So SAINt JHN's playing all these power games with Kanye. Kanye texts him, and he's like, who? And then he invites him to Wyoming, and he's like, nah, I can't. Because I was finishing the next collection. And I think by finishing the next collection, he's talking clothing. Maybe he's talking about his album, but it seems like clothing. At the time, I was in the middle of all the other calls that came in and the momentum of making this collection. No, I guess he's probably talking about the album. Had already started. He was one of the last calls. So I said, I can't go to Cody, Wyoming to work because I'm working on this music. Okay, yeah, so it's thank you for bearing with me. It's music. Then he called me back the next day and said, yo, Rick Rubin's here. Could you imagine? So Kanye is like really trying to get this guy out to Wyoming. Maybe we could executive produce it, me and Rick Rubin. And you may remember there were photos in July, like early July, of Rick Rubin out in Wyoming. So this is lining up with that time. Maybe we could executive produce it, me and Rick Rubin. We should executive produce it together, the collection. So yeah, imagine you're like SAINt JHN and you're just like, oh, I'm having Kanye talk about like having him and Rick Rubin executive produce this. But then also at the same time, I think if you're any person in the hip hop world, you know Kanye's credibility with timelines and releases at this point is something to be skeptical of in the best of circumstances. Guy can't even release his own music. We see Sci-Hi like still not having his album come out. We hear about frustrations from Teyana. Like, it's a little bit rocky in the world of like Kanye music releases. So I can understand even like 2 Chainz is like, maybe next time. And SAINt JHN, who's at a very different place in his career than 2 Chainz, still said like, no, rather than like giving over control, which I think is honestly the right idea. As great as it is to be able to collaborate with Kanye, and as much as Kanye can do for you, there's still something about like standing on your own 2 feet with the project and not just ceding control of something because Kanye may want to do it or may get distracted. So I think that's another big move by SAINt JHN to kind of maintain what it is he's doing in his own momentum rather than falling into having to be part of Kanye's momentum on the project. And he said, look, let's just start a relationship, which, yeah, what a great response. So I actually went to Cody a couple of days later, and that was it. Eric says, I saw a video of you walking around Kanye's compound with a giant TV. I think Buju Banton? I don't know what the inflection on the name would be, but was there too. What was that day like? That wasn't the first time we met, actually. Those are 2 separate instances. When you saw Kanye showing me around a soundstage, that was in Atlanta. And note that it's soundstage, right? Like, there's been a lot of talk about what the warehouse in Atlanta is, whether it's just for clothing, whether it's for music, and here he specifically calls it a soundstage. That's the soundstage with a 100-foot TV. Yeah, we've seen like Ricky running along the football players, right? Then he has this tank and whatever these other things are called, Sherps. He was just showing me he's designing clothes in there and premiering videos and movies and just being inspired. Yeah, so I mean, there have been rumors of the videos and movies he's been showing, right? Like we saw the image of angels being shown on screen in there, but that's really the extent of what we've actually gotten to see at this point. But just kind of confirmation that Kanye is doing things, right? He is busy. It's just he's not releasing any of it. And then we went to Jamaica with me and him and Buju. Bro, it's iconic. It's fucking incredible. It's me, Kanye West, and Buju in Jamaica making records. We flew down there on a private jet. I'd only found out the night before that we were going. Buju's people cooked the most incredible food. The first thing we did was eat. Of course, of course. All we were doing is eating because Jamaica is fire and the food is incredible. If anybody can confirm, I have yet to go to Jamaica. Hopefully someday soon. And then we got into the studio and Kanye was playing music. And if you slipped for a second and thought he wasn't the Kanye West that you thought he was musically, that'd be an incredible mistake. Which, what a sentence, right? Like, if you thought that Kanye has fallen off, you are a fool, is essentially what SAINt JHN's saying. The music's brilliant, is incredible. I'm as much of a fan now as I was then, which kind of lines up with, I think, what we've been hearing from people that have heard Kanye's newest music, though a lot of them have like interest in saying that it's great. Like Boo, of course, is going to say it's great. 2 Chainz, I think, is going to say that it's great. Other people, but we even saw Snoop Dogg, who had been very critical of Kanye from 2018 into 2020 in the studio earlier this year, and he was reacting to the music and was like, this music's awesome. So it just seems like it's awesome music that we're not getting to hear, and I'm going to get more and more frustrated by that. I wasn't all that bothered with Yandi. It was annoying, but I was just like, okay, Kanye has his process. Like, look what got us to The Life of Pablo. I'm happy with waiting. And then Jick had its shenanigans, and now here we are with Donda, and I'm just getting more and more frustrated. Like, why are we getting Na 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 and not Donda? Like, why? Like, why is Na 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 okay to go out into the world, but other songs are... Deep breaths. Deep breaths. All right. I'm as much of a fan now as I was then, but I'm getting to hear music that no one's heard yet. And then Buju playing his unreleased records, and then me playing mine. Look, bro, it's like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson playing one-on-one-on-one, which I read that and I was just like, how does a one-on-one-on-one game work? I guess it's whoever has the ball, the other two are on defense, and if you get the steal, then the other two immediately start defending you, which, I don't know, give me a basketball league like that, you know? Just like individual players going head-to-head, like 5-on-5, but each player's his own team. No, that wouldn't work. 3-on-3, each player is their own like individual team. That's a league. Steal that idea, get it started. Okay. Did Pray For Me come out of those sessions in Jamaica? Nope. Those are a whole other batch of songs. That's all I'm going to say. So, I mean, this is exciting on the one hand because it's like, oh, they made a lot of music. Maybe we'll get all this music. But if we've learned anything over the last 5 years from like 40 tracks with Kendrick, 40 tracks with Drake, 40 tracks with Young Thug, is that Kanye does a lot of work with people, and then we have no idea if it's ever going to see the light of day. So, maybe. Another big collaboration you have on this album is with Lil Uzi Vert, and then it just kind of goes into some of the other like questions, like him working with Uzi, being in LA versus New York, talking about the relationship with Biggs, and then it's a long answer about like anxiety, and that's essentially it. There's no other mention of karate Kanye. Wow, that is unprecedented. I don't know if anybody's ever meant to say Kanye and said karate before. But what's the most important thing you wanted people to know about you right now? I'm black and I'm from Brooklyn. So just wanted to get that in there since that was important to SAINt JHN. Enough that that's how he ends the interview. So I don't know. Seemed like a fitting way to exit from this discussion. And you can see that the news has started to go around in a condensed form. If you just are tired of me talking and want a recap of the highlights, go ahead and pause the video here. I'll wait. Okay, resuming now that you've seen this, and you can see at the bottom here, we could potentially be getting a Ty Dolla $ign Kanye album from Ty's new interview, as my dog does his little howl. And this is what that's talking about. You can see Jorge Tube here. Ty Dolla $ign might have a collab project with Ye, and also confirmed he has a collab with Post Malone. My feelings that I just expressed about everything that we've heard before kind of holds true. Dog's trying to jump up. Holds true right now is that, like, I'm sure they recorded something. I'm sure that Ty hopes the album comes out, but I don't know if the album will ever come out. So we'll see. And that's it for this. I'm going to go see what the dog wants. But if you're enjoying the channel and you want to support, the easiest way is to like, subscribe, or comment, as those things tell YouTube this is a channel people enjoy, and then they engage with it more. And then, yeah, we have a podcast and stuff. Until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.